As chair of SAU 21 Joint School Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of SAU 21 Joint School Board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 646-876-9923, webinar ID number 928-6103-3920, and the password is 622540, or by clicking on the website, which is listed on the agenda. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of SAU 21 at www.sau21.org. If anyone has a problem, please call 603-926-8992, extension 103, or email revans@sau21.org. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law.
Aaron Stanton.
Here, and my entire family is coming and going.
Forrest Carter. Greg Merrill.
Here, room is empty.
Greg Parrish.
Present, family in and out.
Greg Duffy. Henry Marsh. Jessica Brown. Jim Kime.
Here, and I'm alone.
John Bailey.
Here alone with family in and out.
Leslie LaFond.
Here and alone.
Mike Rabideau.
Here and alone.
Rebecca Burdick. Sharon Gordon. Tom Von Jess.
Present, alone.
Heidi Terracina.
Present with family in and out every now and then.
Jason Farias. Jennifer Hubbard. Kelly Huber.
Family in and out.
Martin Tavishian. Nermina Peterson.
Present, alone.
Tony Delano.
Here with family in and out of the room.
And Jill Swayze.
Here with family in the house.
Okay. I have the roll call taken.
Great. So I'm guessing we can't do the minutes until people are on. Is that fair?
That's right.
We can do minutes because those aren't an action item. I mean, we have a quorum of members here.
Okay.
You don't, though. The quorum is a majority of 4 of the boards and 12 people. So you don't.
Yeah, I think that's what I was
Okay,
thinking.
we have
too.
14 people.
Right, so you have enough,
Yeah.
but you don't have the quorum of the 4 boards.
Right.
So, Jim, I can give the update on return to school.
I think that's best, yes.
Do that now, and then we'll see if we have enough people to take the action.
Sounds
So
good.
I'm going to ask my colleagues to jump in here. We had our 3rd meeting of the task force today. The working groups continue to meet in between those meetings. And we don't have we're not to the point of recommendations or any of those kinds of things yet. I thought I'd lay out for you some of what we talked about today in terms of what goes into any of the scenarios. So first of all, a number of people asked specifically about we have a library of documents that we're sharing with people, and one of them is the CDC guidance, which came out last week. And in a lot of meetings I've been in over the last week, there's a honing in on one part of those CDC guidelines. You could hone in on lots of parts of it, but there's one in particular that says that students should spend their day with one teacher when we come back next year. And a lot of people wonder how above 6th grade you do that, given that kids move between teachers, and there's no real answer to that yet, but you should know that that's actually in the CDC guidance as one of the things that they're recommending that districts put in place. There's a lot of focus on the kinds of things that need to be put in place to support educators and families, whether we're remote or whether we're in person. And I know that group is talking about some additional surveys of our educators and families. We've had conversations about the school calendar and whether, because of the need for professional development, particularly in some of the scenarios that involve more hybrid or remote learning, whether we need to move some of the professional development time up earlier in the year. There's been a conversation about daily schedules and whether if we bring people in, given that we're supposed to maintain social distancing and have masks, whether there would be a need to stagger schedules or do something with schedules in some way. Even if we're remote, one of the things that Jason Saltmarsh and their surveys that they have out heard a lot from staff and from parents and students was the need for more of a finite daily schedule to be part of what people are involved in. You know, Donna Couture's group has an interesting task. They're talking about doing some additional graduate surveys later on in the year, because given a lot of what people are reading, there's a belief that for our seniors who are graduating soon, that they don't really aren't seeing from the colleges and universities where they've been accepted what the reality may be in the fall. Because there's a lot, if you've read any of it, if not, I can send you some of the things out of the library on what's going on with wait lists and what that means to second and third tier colleges and the financial shape that a number of those colleges and universities are in, and what some experts are expecting to see over the next year or two that are frightening. And so there's a lot of need for continued support of those students, and they're talking about doing some follow-up graduate surveys. Jason spent a lot of time talking with us about the need to really hone in on what our technology tools are, and there's a lot of interest in making sure our devices are all available for take home, not just as we hit a pandemic, but all the time. Jason also relayed to us some really fascinating data from the initial returns of surveys that the technology group has done with parents, students, and teachers, and the kinds of things that they saw as the strength of what we've done and where we have a number of areas for improvement. We want to try to maximize, Matt's group talked about trying to maximize the numbers of students who qualify for free and reduced lunch, who take advantage of that program, that's going to be really important come the fall. We are still trying to get a handle on the numbers of, well, staff in particular for now, but then students who are in high risk categories and what a return to school might look like for them. We know that statewide, this has been reported by our professional association, that there are a number of surveys that have been done in some parts of the state that have suggested that about a third of families are saying that if schools are open, they're not interested in sending their kids back. And about a third of teachers and other employees are saying that if schools are open, they're not sure, given their medical situation, their age, whatever it may be, they're not sure they're going to return. We know we have to take a look at our attendance and sick leave policies, in some cases to match up with the current federal law, but in other cases to make sure that they are not dissuading people from staying home if they're sick. We need people to stay home if they're sick. There's a lot of talk in Matt's group about efficiently moving people in a social distancing world, whether that's the use of our transportation program or how we move people through hallways, all those kinds of things, whether that requires additional signage, all those kinds of pieces. And then I mentioned the CDC guidance. So what I've tried to do there in 3 or 4 minutes is give you a flavor of what I have had now for the second consecutive week and consider to be kind of mind-blowing meetings of people reporting out on where their individual groups see us, and we're not alone. We're having these conversations with the Southeasters, the school districts in our part of the state, and statewide on a weekly basis through the commissioners' calls. And we're all sort of wrestling with the same sort of sets of what ifs right now. So I don't know, David or Caroline or Matt, if you want to jump in at all on any of that, or if people have questions, we can try to answer or duck them, whatever is most appropriate.
Bill, Greg Parrish, I have a question. You mentioned staff possibly not wanting to come back for the various reasons. When do you begin conversations with the unions to discuss the next MOA?
Probably mid-June would be my guess.
Okay.
And that,
Sorry, don't mean to put more on your plate.
that may require a lot more involvement, because that one, depending on the scenarios, may be much more substantive.
Okay.
And Greg, I want to be really clear what I actually said. So in sort of a set of statewide surveys done by a few school districts, they all seem to be consistent. The NHSAA has these information. They all seem to be consistent in that in all those districts, they were seeing about a third were reporting that they were uncomfortable with the idea of coming back, again, because of underlying health conditions or age. And the numbers tended to be about the same for students and their families.
And I understood that.
Okay.
And if we have staff that choose not to, and that's fine, I get that. That means we need to bring more staff in as substitutes, which is more cost to us.
It means that we need, I'll go this far for the moment. It means that we need to figure out systems that address that, whether that's a combination of hybrid approaches involving those people, or whether that means substitutes or something else we haven't yet come up with. Yes, it does mean that.
Just as a note, what I have heard and the pushback on it is the survey that was taken by a lot, at least from what I'm hearing, they found it a very leading survey.
Which survey, Leslie? Because we have
the one from the governor.
Well, yeah,
A different one. All right, never mind. We won't even go there. We're not going to discuss that yet.
No, let's not do that one. Yes, to the one that came from the commissioner's task force.
Yeah, that basically said we're going to be at remote learning and deal with it. So yeah, okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure I'm on the same page.
Yeah, we're not using that survey in our work.
Okay. All right.
So I do know that I have a family member that's on a school board in New York, and they are reopening their retirement proposition that they offered to their teachers in October and November of last year, to teachers that if schools do reopen, that the teacher might not feel comfortable coming back because of health reasons for somebody in their family or themselves, their age. So they're reopening that up to, qualifying teachers that might have wanted to, or were kind of on the verge of retiring maybe this year and didn't.
Yeah. So let me say this to that, but so not to get into collective bargaining here, right? Because, but we have heard, so superintendents in the North Country, as one example, reported, and there's small numbers of teachers there, but they reported, I think it was between 7 and 10 teachers who were not on their radar for retirement, who have chosen to take retirement now for next year. And again, these were not people that were on their radar at all, but who, for some of the same reasons you just stated, have chosen to retire. And others are expecting to see possibly those kinds of numbers, depending on the scenarios, depending on lots over the next 2 or 3 months. Yes.
So, Dr. Lapini, if I may. So, first of all, I want to echo what you were saying about folks who are sick shouldn't be at school, and we should make sure we support that fully and make sure that that's clear. I would encourage us not to overswing too early, kind of see what we need to do and then make the adjustments as we need to.
Right.
With regard to retirements, part of it might be health issues or folks at home, and we need to support that fully, no question. That said, sometimes it's about change and about new environment and about flexing and having part remote, part classroom, and whatever we can do from providing the technological resources and training and coaching and leeway that we can to minimize that. We've got a lot of great teachers, and if we can help as many as we can transition, if there is a transition, that's what I would encourage the most. And I know you're working on that. I just want to kind of say that out loud.
Yeah, the good news is, thank you for that, Tom. The good news is that in the survey that Jason's done, we got high marks on the professional development and support that teachers got. Now they also said that if this is going to continue, they're going to need a lot more.
Yep.
Right, and they're going to need us to hone in on the apps and the platforms that we're going to use to not be so scattershot, but to hone in on a few and really support people around those. And so I think Dave and his group have that well under control. But yeah, you raise a good point.
Yeah.
I would just echo where you guys are. And that's been a reality of our conversation in return to instruction. We know there are going to be teachers that are going to have to teach from home to students who are potentially in the building, right? And we know that there are going to be teachers in the building who are potentially going to have to do that outreach to students at home. The good news is we've got a lot of working models right now of teams that are functioning really well and integrating unified arts and some of the core contents and working together as a community online, which really helps the accountability piece. And it really helps just the outreach piece. So yeah, those are all solutions that we're noodling around with right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I am asked one other question in the last 2 or 3 meetings that I've been in on this topic, and that I just want to raise here because some of you may be thinking it. So we've got these return to school groups functioning in one form or another in many school districts across New Hampshire, and you've got the commissioner with a task force. And someone asked me today, wouldn't the decision on whether we go remote or reopen or whatever, wouldn't that rest at the state level in the fall? And the answer is we don't know. The answer that we've gotten from the commissioner a number of times now is that we have local control, that they will give us kind of guardrails, but that we have local control around these issues, which I will tell you a number of school leaders are concerned about. If you think about the southeastern part of the state, and if you think about a number of school districts doing different things, and the fact that many of our teachers reside in these other school districts, you could create a mess of one district being remote and another district being in person, but that person can't come into work because their kids are remote, right? All those kinds of things. So there is some effort in the southeasters to try to do things together, but the fact that the state seems to be saying you're all kind of on your own within these pretty wide parameters is difficult.
Yeah, to Dr. Lapini, on that, so corporations are kind of all on their own too, and there could be, well, I'm totally on board with one district remote, another district in class. The same thing holds true with companies too, right? Because
Yes.
we're gonna have some parents that need to go to work,
Yes.
and some, right? So
Yes.
it's tricky, and I totally understand that it's tricky. In my opinion, our focus needs to be on the students first, and then as adults, we need to figure out what we do to deliver on that, understanding that there needs to be flexibility and empathy, because everyone's situation, all the teachers' situation is going to be different, but we need to deliver. We can't.
Right. We agree. We
Amen.
agree.
Amen. Thank you.
Anything else on this? Caroline, Matt?
Well, I would just, on that conversation, we had some great subgroup work, subgroups of our subgroup work over the past week in mental health and staff and student mental health and data collection and crisis response. But in this conversation, I'm thinking, of course we need to support our staff who may have health concerns or taking care of family members with health concerns, but there are staff members who have a level of high anxiety for catching the virus, regardless of any fragile medical issues. So I think we have a lot of things to consider for all our people. I think we'll have families who are nervous to send kids in. I think we'll have staff who are nervous to work. Regardless of what's going on. I mean, this is a prolonged, pervasive, pretty consistent message from, the CDC and the media that we're in a traumatic situation, and it's tenuous for people, and I think they're nervous to make any steps further. Just to go to the neighbor's house for a barbecue can raise a lot of anxiety in anybody. So yeah, I think we're gonna have to really keep our eyes and minds open on those points.
So we're going to be doing, putting some of this in this messaging and begin to sort of make sure people are aware that this group is meeting, the kinds of work that's going on. I think by next week, we'll have some additional sort of written communication for parents and staff members. But this is a good group of people, and these are difficult conversations, but it's a good group of people that we've put together. So we're happy to try to answer any other questions. And Jim, I still don't know that we can take any action on anything.
Sharon's dialing in now.
Sharon's dialing in now, so then you're set. at least on the one action item.
Yeah, exactly. And just to echo everybody's comments, that they are thinking through, this committee is thinking through, I think, pretty much every permutation possible. It's been pretty impressive to see kind of how they've gone about it, even in the early works. And I think everybody understands, it's 3 months away and we don't really know what the situation is going to be. So, I'm sure whatever the plans are will have to get modified somehow, but hopefully they're in a spot where, they've thought through it enough that they're well prepared for whatever we're dealt at the time.
Yeah. So it doesn't look like we'll be able to do the MOA. We can schedule that for one of our upcoming briefings. I don't think it's a significant deal in that, as I've said to the OC, it's nothing that we're not sort of living. So we can hold that off and approve it at an upcoming briefing. But if Sharon joins us, then you can do the minutes. I can mention here, if you don't mind, Jim, if I mention the calendar.
Yeah, go for it.
So Rhonda has prepared a draft of the meeting calendar, which includes not only your board meetings, but what you're going to see in June around deliberatives, also our OC meetings, our joint board meetings, and our policy committee meetings. We're not asking for action necessarily on that tonight. We can catch up with that later, but we did want you to see a draft where we essentially took this year's calendar and tried to correct for some of the things that we ran into. For example, trying to hold board meetings on the same night as deliberatives for those of you who do that in an effort to be more efficient. But there's a draft calendar for next year in this material as well.
So Jim, I just emailed Sharon all the information. I don't know if that would help her.
I just asked if she had any luck. I don't. Here we go. She can't get in from her phone. Did you send her the dial-in?
Yeah, it would have the dial-in information as well in the email.
Okay, I just let her know that.
Okay.
I'm just looking through here. Anything else on here that we can
I could
tackle?
provide
While
the financial update.
yeah, why don't you do that?
So, okay, so we did, we have included the year-to-date expenditure and revenue reports in board docs. If you recall, we have approximately $98,000 in unreserved balance coming into this fiscal year. That was, so as you know, the SAU is structured a little differently than the school districts in that we can carry a balance. That's our contingency for unanticipated costs, as opposed to the school districts that have expendable trusts for unanticipated special education costs, building costs, or other unanticipated costs. My apologies, the kid just left the room, so I think I'm good now.
You're all good, Matt. Don't worry about it. It's a good thing.
We came into the fiscal year with about $98,000. So for this year, we are estimated to finish out with approximately $75,000 in unexpended costs. The bulk of that is due to a savings in benefits. We've had a number of turnover at the SAU, which has resulted in favorable health insurance elections for us. So we have saved money there. We also saved on labor relations costs. That was budgeted for our CESPA negotiations, and also there were some funds available in the event that the CBA did not pass the year prior. We had some excess funds there. So we also recognized some savings that were remote learning related. That includes supplies, some electricity and heating fuel costs, and then just miscellaneous like printer costs, postage, those type of expenditures. Additionally, we do have the revenue side, and we will be receiving approximately $25,000 in revenue. This is for indirect costs related to, or indirect revenue related to administering for federal funds, as well as the portion of the shared technology staff member. And we did get a refund from Primex for workers' compensation. So all in, we are looking at approximately $100,000 to end the year. So that will bring our total unreserved fund balance to approximately $200,000. I will say that that does not include one pretty significant expenditure that's in this year's budget, which is for the window replacement. So that's not going to happen until, even though it's in this portion of that was in this year's budget, it won't occur until next fiscal year, and that's about $30,000. We're going through that RFP process now, so we'll have an exact number probably in the summer. But that will bring us down to $170,000. So we're pretty healthy as we go into the next budget session. So I'd be happy to answer any questions in regard to finance.
Hey, Matt, you just made me think of something. You mentioned a workers' comp refund. When you have you might have already done this, but whoever our broker is on property and casualty, there may be credits towards next year's premium on any special risk or liability products that we have in place this year, because we're not using it because no one's on campuses. So if you haven't already, that might be something you can talk to your agent about.
That's a good point, Tom. Thank you. Yeah, that's through Primex, so I will be in touch with them.
Matt, on the windows, is that in this year's budget? Did we budget for the windows or not?
Yeah, so it was. It's actually this. Well, if you recall, originally we were doing siding. Then we were going to do on our capital improvement plan. We were going to do siding and then windows. But then once we really started looking at it, it made more sense to do the windows prior to the siding.
Well, why wouldn't that monies be encumbered rather than in next year's budget or next year's allocation?
Well, it was split, so we had $10,000 out of this year's budget, and then another I want to say $10,000 or $15,000 out of next year's budget. We weren't funding it in one fiscal year, and like I said, we switched it this past year from the siding to the window project. We just changed the order. We can't encumber it until we actually hire a vendor. So, and the balance it rolls from year to year. So, it's something that we know that's coming up, but it's not encumbered as of yet.
All right. I think Sharon dialed in, so you should be able to. Does anybody have any other questions before we move to the action items? All right, great. So first we have the approval of minutes. There's actually two categories here. One being consent agenda. So those would be, there's 5 of them, from the dates being March 26th, April 7th, April 16th, April 22nd, and May 19th. I believe we can do one vote to handle all 5. Does anybody have any questions or comments before those specifically?
Jim, I wasn't here for the 19th. Should I just not vote altogether on that?
These are just the updates that were provided. So since there was no action taken, we believe these can all just be passed under the consent agenda.
Okay. Okay.
So can I get a
I'll make that motion. Mike.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Who was that second?
Nermina.
Thank you. Aaron Stanton?
Yes.
Greg Marrow? Can you guys just make sure you're not muted?
Yes.
Okay. Greg Parrish?
Yes.
Jim Keim?
Yes.
John Bailey?
Yes.
Leslie LaFond?
Yes.
Mike Rabideau?
Yes.
Sharon Gordon?
Yes.
Tom Von Jess?
Yes.
Heidi Terracina?
Yes.
Jason Farias?
Yes.
Kelly Huber?
Yes.
Nermina Peterson?
Yes.
Tony Delano?
Yes.
And Jill Swayze?
Yes.
Okay, I have that vote recorded.
Great. Now we have 2 sets of minutes, which we'll have to vote on independently. So the first one is March 31st, 2020, the reorganization meeting. Does anybody have any questions or comments about that? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes from March 31st.
I'll second again.
Aaron Stanton?
Yes.
Greg Marrow?
Yes.
Greg Parrish?
Yes.
Jim Keim?
Yes.
John Bailey?
Yes.
Leslie LaFond?
Yes.
Mike Rabideau,
Yes.
Sharon Gordon,
Yes.
Tom Von Jess,
Yes.
Heidi Terracina,
Yes.
Jason Farias,
Yes.
Kelly Huber,
Yes.
Nermina Peterson,
Yes.
Tony Delano,
Yes.
and Jill Swayze.
I'll abstain.
Okay, I have that vote recorded.
Great. Next up is the minutes from April 28th, 2020. Does anybody have any questions or comments before we? Okay, not hear anything. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion to approve the minutes from the April 28th, 2020 meeting.
I'll second.
Great.
Aaron Stanton,
Yes.
Greg Merrill,
Yes.
Greg Parrish,
Yes.
Jim Keim,
Yes.
John Bailey,
Yes.
Leslie LaFond,
Yes.
Mike Rabideau,
Yes.
Sharon Gordon,
Yes.
Tom Von Jess,
Yes.
Heidi Terracina,
Yes.
Jason Farias,
Yes.
Kelly Huber,
Yes.
Nermina Peterson,
Yes.
Tony Delano,
Yes.
and Jill Swayze.
Abstain.
Okay, I have that vote recorded.
Great. Thank you.
Rhonda, I'm here.
Henry, I need to add you to the roll call.
Thank you, dear.
I'm sorry, how was your vote on all of those?
Excellent.
Okay, so I'll add you as a yes.
Oh, Henry, I love you.
I'm sorry, Henry.
Is that a new category of voting?
The vote just went over my head, that's all.
Well, guess what? You'll be in on this next vote to go to non-public, so.
There we go. So for the action items, we can't do A, which is the memorandum of agreement, but we can do B. So can I get a motion to go into non-public session?
Motion
Under
to go
our-
into non-public.
I believe it's under RSA 91-A. Right.
I'll second it.
Okay, Aaron Stanton,
Yes.
Greg Merrill,
Yes.
Greg Parrish,
Yes.
Henry Marsh,
Yes.
Jim Keim,
Yes.
John Bailey,
Yes.
Leslie LaFond,
Yes.
Mike Rabideau,
Yes.
Sharon Gordon,
Yes.
Tom Von Jess,
Yes.
Heidi Terracina,
Yes.
Jason Farias,
Yes.
Kelly Huber,
Yes.
Nermina Peterson,
Yes.
Tony Delano,
Yes.
and Jill Swayze.
Yes.
Okay, that vote is recorded. We are going to stop the recording.
Oh,
We are now-
shoot. Do we need to vote on something?
Yeah.
When we come out into public, we're recording
Heidi just
again.
left. Heidi just left.
Right, Heidi, we knew Heidi had to leave.
Okay, so we have enough numbers though?
You still have enough for when it kind of, yes.
Okay, thanks, sorry.
And then I am going to put the participants back in. You got to do it in a different panel on here. Okay. And I believe Bill is back and we have our attendee back. Okay. All right, we're back in the public meeting.
Okay, great. Our next action item is, can I get a motion to approve the superintendent's contract addendum as presented?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
That was Greg Parrish.
Yep.
Aaron Stanton,
Yes.
Greg Merrill. Is Greg still with us?
He's muted.
Oh, okay. Greg Parrish,
Yes.
Henry Marsh,
Yes.
Jim Keim,
Yes.
John Bailey,
Yes.
Leslie LaFond,
Yes.
Mike Rabideau,
Yes.
Sharon Gordon,
Yes.
Tom Von Jess,
Yes.
Jason Farias,
Yes.
Kelly Huber,
Yes.
Nermina Peterson,
Yes.
Tony Delano,
Yes.
and Jill Swayze.
Yes.
Okay, I have the vote recorded.
Great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
All right. Just kind of looking through it here. I think that's pretty much it. We got future meetings, right? We can talk about, or
What about the evaluation?
Yeah, everything that's left is informational. The
Yeah.
evaluation's on there. It's an informational piece.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes, we don't have another meeting scheduled, but we will schedule some of those informational sessions and use one of them to hopefully, when we have have a majority of each of the boards there, to adopt the CESPA document.
Yeah.
Can I just ask one question, Jim? For those who participated in the superintendent's evaluation, how did it go this year? And then Dr. Lupini receiving the evaluation from the OC, how was that from your perspective? Just so that we can keep it on our radar if we need to make tweaks for next year.
Tom, Greg Parrish, much better than previous years. Very easy. I really like the format.
Yeah, I would echo that. I thought it went, I wasn't on the previous one, so I don't have a comparison, but I felt this was kind of well done and straight, kind of straight to the point. And I thought it was, I don't really have any improvements, like suggestions for improvement, at least from my perspective.
Was it helpful for you, Dr. Lupini? Was it valuable feedback in a format that makes sense?
The format makes a lot of sense. I think one of the things you want to pay attention to is whether the sort of the standards and indicators make sense. There are updates to those kinds of documents all the time that we may want to revisit at some point. But the format's great. The opportunity to sit down with the chair of the OC and a joint board chair and have a discussion about it is what I always think is the most important part of this. I tend to look at these as, is there something I can sort of take from this to improve practice? And I think this format and the document does that.
Can I speak on this? I was involved last year being the joint board chair and also OC this year. It went a lot smoother this year. We went through a number of discussions last year about, can we review it ahead of time? Can the boards be separated out and discuss it and such? The way it went this year was just streamlined. Everybody understood what they had to do, and I think it was a lot better. And I think that Bill received a lot better feedback also.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, there we go. I was waiting for somebody to say that.
I'll second.
Excuse me, can I add, Jim, on our agenda, can we have the Pledge of Allegiance, please? We have not had a Pledge of Allegiance in any of our meetings, and I'm going to request that at the Winnicott board, that we do a Pledge of Allegiance, even though that we're doing it remotely.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can put up little flag backgrounds.
There we go.
Not a problem, sir.
All right, sounds good. I think it's a great idea, Henry.
Thank you.
All right. So I think does anybody have anything else before we adjourn?
We're good.
Do we need to do a vote, Rhonda?
Is everybody in favor of adjourning?
Yes.
That looks unanimous.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night.
Great night. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.